Hi, everyone. At this year's SMRP annual conference, one question kept coming up again and again. How can one predictive maintenance strategy actually work when every plant has its own way of doing things? It's a great question, and today I'm sitting down with our VP of Sales, Don Ryan, to give you a sneak preview of how we approach this challenge. We'll be diving even deeper into the topic during our upcoming webinar, but for now, let's hear Don's take.
Perfect. Thank you, Auburn. And great question, by the way. So, as you mentioned, we often get asked. The way I like to start in answering that particular question is to understand that, in essence, there are some universal truths that do exist, and despite differences in plants, things are going to be consistent as you go from place to place. For example, machines will fail. Gearboxes do deteriorate on a curve. Motors will overheat and vibrate in the same kind of way. So despite the fact that plants may be different, even within the same business, you'll have different functions within plants from location to location. There are some universal truths that we can lean on. So that being the case, when looking into preventive maintenance and condition monitoring overall, it's important to focus on what are the goals of a program and focus on establishing the goals and KPIs that are engineered for continuous improvement. That way, it's not just a one-time thing. So we're always looking to improve as a business. That's one of the essential elements of manufacturing overall. We're never in a state of status quo. So continuous improvement is key. Second, you want to make sure that these KPIs are agreed to and supported by the business overall. And you want to ensure that you're standardizing on inputs that's going to allow for site level execution. So ideally, you're building tools and adopting tools and processes that can be established across a broader group of plants, but each site is going to implement in their own way. Why? Because as mentioned, each plant is different. You'll have different levels of sophistication, different levels of experience, different level of resources. So establishing a process is kind of the focus that's built on KPIs that's going to allow you to execute in a way that's more local. Then when you're doing that, when you're going through the process of establishing a preventive maintenance program, really focus on and share the success that you're going to have overall. So if you're able to execute and share in a way that's driving performance improvements within the plants, don't hide that, share it. Really, because what happens is adoption and broader adoption of these types of programs is really built on proof and return on investment. So things like early detection of problems before they occur, reductions in escalations, understanding you're not firefighting every weekend. Those are things that you want to share in a way that's going to help continue to improve as you go from site to site, because truthfully, those are the elements that you want to avoid. And then the last I would suggest, and again, this is true from within each plan, within each location, you want to design a program with an emphasis on critical assets first and with an eye on criticality. So for example, each plant may operate differently, but there's always going to be the 20% of the assets within the plant that cause 80% of the downtime. Emphasize and support those assets first. Make sure that you're given the tools and the process to follow locally in a way that's going to drive the biggest return on your investment, in a way that's going to ensure adoption and ideally going to ensure that we can accelerate growth throughout the business and drive the results to the KPIs that you want to achieve. So again, when you think about the fact that yes, plants are different, but they're universal truths. If you establish a program that's based on KPIs and inputs that has success metrics in mind and is designed around criticality first, you'll ensure that you're adopting or have a process and a solution that's adaptable for each particular site and location. I hope that helps, and I look forward to seeing you all in a couple months.
Thanks, Don. That's just a glimpse into how AssetWatch helps teams overcome the every plant is different challenge and build a predictive maintenance strategy that truly scales. If you want the full framework, join us on February 12th at 12 p.m. Eastern for our webinar hosted by SMRP. See you guys there.